For 500 years, Rome wasn't just a city, it was the entire world. If you lived in London, Alexandria, or Carthage, you answered to one man in Italy. It was an empire of engineers, philosophers, and the most terrifying military machine the world had ever seen. Everyone thought it would last forever, but history has a funny way of proving everyone wrong. During the Pax Romana, things were great if you were Roman. Trade flowed, the borders were stable, and the Mediterranean was essentially a private Roman swimming pool. But the empire was built on a dangerous paradox. It needed to expand to pay its bills. Once they ran out of rich neighbors to conquer, the Eternal City started looking at its own bank account, and it didn't like what it saw. To pay for its massive army, Rome did something modern governments know all too well. They debased their currency. They swapped silver for copper, leading to hyperinflation that made a loaf of bread cost a wheelbarrow of coins. While the peasants were starving, the elite were busy playing a deadly game of musical chairs with the throne. In one 50-year period, Rome had over 25 different emperors. Most were Barracks Emperors, generals who bought the loyalty of their troops, marched on Rome, and were usually assassinated before they could even finish decorating the palace. When your CEO gets murdered every 6 months, it's hard to run a global business. Realizing the empire was too big to manage, Emperor Diocletian did the unthinkable. He split it in two. The East, with its capital in Constantinople, was rich and stable. The West, including Rome itself, was left with the crumbling roads, the empty treasury, and a very large welcome mat for the incoming barbarian tribes. By the time the Goths and Huns arrived, the Roman legions weren't even Roman anymore. They were mostly foreign mercenaries with no loyalty to the state. In 476 AD, a Germanic leader named Odoacer walked into Rome, deposed the teenage emperor Romulus Augustulus, and just sent him home with a pension. No epic battle, no final stand. Just a quiet end to a 500-year-old dream. Rome didn't fall in a day. It was a slow-motion train wreck caused by greed, inflation, and a leadership crisis that would make a modern politician blush. The empire was gone, but its language, laws, and religion would go on to build the world we live in today. Rome didn't just wake up one day and find an army at the gates. It started with a crisis. The Huns, the terror of the East, were pushing tribes like the Visigoths out of their lands. These tribes showed up at Rome's border not to conquer, but to ask for help. But instead of integrating them, corrupt Roman officials exploited them, even trading dog meat for Gothic children as slaves. You can only push people so far. The Visigoths revolted, and at the Battle of Adrianople, they didn't just win, they annihilated the Roman army and killed the emperor. The invincibility of Rome was officially dead. From here on, the barbarians weren't just at the gates, they were inside the house. And they were the ones carrying the weapons. For the first time in 800 years, the city of Rome was sacked. Alaric and his Goths didn't burn the city to the ground. They were actually Christian and respected the churches, but the psychological damage was done. The heart of the world had been broken. If Rome could be touched, nothing was safe. By 476 AD, the Western Empire was a ghost. The final emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was just a teenager. When the Germanic king Odoacer decided he'd had enough of the Roman charade, he didn't even bother killing the boy. He just sent him into retirement and declared himself king of Italy. The Roman Empire in the West didn't go out with a bang. It ended with a quiet signature. But here's the twist. The Roman Empire didn't actually end in 476. While the West was in the Dark Ages, the eastern half, the Byzantine Empire, thrived for another 1,000 years. They still called themselves Romans, they still spoke Greek, and they kept the flame alive until 1453. So why does it matter? Because we still live in Rome's shadow. Our laws, our languages, and even our architecture are just remixes of what they built. Rome fell, but the idea of Rome? That's still standing. If you enjoyed this dive into the History Epoch, hit that subscribe button. We're on a mission to hit 4,000 watch hours, and every minute you watch helps us bring more history to life. Check out our next video on the rise of the British Empire right here.